Hey everyone, welcome back to the Weekly Awakening Podcast. This is episode 263. This is your host, Cosmic Colleen, and all the action of this week is coming this weekend. I know we did have a full moon in Scorpio at the beginning of the week, and there was action, but I'm talking the big actions happening this weekend. On Saturday the 17th, we have the Sun conjunct Uranus, 7:32 p.m., and remember, that's East Coast times I give you guys. Sunday the 18th, Mercury in Taurus will square Mars in Leo, 12:35 a.m. Sunday the 18th, also, we got Jupiter in Gemini squaring the nodes in Pisces. Tuesday, May 20th, the Sun enters Gemini. And next... Oh my gosh, excuse me. Next week, we got the big weekend where Saturn ingresses into Aries. That is happening next Saturday. I will do an episode next week about Saturn and Aries because there is a lot to talk about. But one thing I do want to say, my mutable rising signs, my other mutable placements, Gemini, Virgo, Sagittarius, Pisces, we are getting to the end of Saturn affecting us. Now, listen, Saturn moves into Aries for a few months. Then in September, moves back into Pisces for 4 months. And then it ingresses back into Aries. And we are out of Saturn action for at least 7 years. Okay? Thank you, Lord. But again, I'm going to talk more about it on next week's episode. We're coming fresh off of this full moon in Scorpio. And just as I predicted, it was a very active day with lots of physical movements. I will say, though, I felt Tuesday as well as today were more irritable and more tiring than like I had predicted for Monday. Monday, again, was a lot of physical energy, but I feel like the come down from the Scorpio moon has been like a hangover a little bit. Tuesday, today, a little bit of a grumpy hangover. So, but let's go back to Monday. A lot of commitment to physical activity happened with this full moon. I ended up choosing the full moon to start a personal trainer, which I have never done. And honestly, when I had set up the appointment with the trainer a couple weeks prior, I wasn't even thinking and didn't even realize it was the day of the full moon until like the week or two before. I said, oh boy. I literally have never worked out so hard in my life. I am not kidding you. Normally, I lollygag around the gym. I'm a Gemini, so I just sort of bounce around lightly. I think I worked out hard, but I know I'm just kind of like, okay, I count my reps, but I don't count my reps. And I have a woman trainer, Christy. I'm at Alpha Elite Fitness in Westchester. I wanted to go to like a hardcore gym. I was ready to get it together and get myself in the best shape of my life, especially because I'm turning 37. And I feel like if you don't physically get yourself together by the 40s, it's much harder to do all kinds of things with your body. So when we got there, she's like, okay, we're going to have a leg day today. That's how we're going to start our gym day. And I was like, okay. And I said, great. I love leg day, with I usually do. I'm not joking. Within 4 minutes of my first rep of these squats, I said, honestly, you might have had a little too much confidence in me because I am dying right now and I'm used to the YMCA leg day, not this Alpha Elite Gym leg day. At the end, it felt very good because I have never pushed myself that hard to work out. I mean, I was going to throw up like 10 minutes into it and I said, holy shit. Again, I've never worked out this hard and I love to work out, but I'm not that committed in the way that this is and the way I'm about to take it. So I hope that you guys use this energy to physically move stuck energy out. Commit to getting your body moving again. I'm telling you, you have to commit to getting your body moving with this. So I hope that you used this physical energy to, or use the astrology energy to physically move. And again, commit to something. I talked about in last week's episode, commit to something that is good for your body, other than the things our body loves that is not good for us. And I felt euphoric all day. I was like, oh my God, this is why people run ultra marathons or run marathons or work out like crazy. Like I felt so good afterwards and my mood felt good. I slept really well, and there is just a lot to the body. Those endorphins are real. It's like ecstasy, just a little different. So like I said, the energy of the rest of the week is a little moody. And even if it's not moody, I think we all yesterday and today, this morning, I woke up feeling it. And I know some of my friends have, there's this friction in the air, right? Even again, if you don't feel particularly moody, there is still this friction that we're feeling yesterday and today. And I know here in Philadelphia area of Pennsylvania, we had some sunshine, and in the last 2 days, it's like blah. Again, just rain, rain, rain. We just want that sunshine. So let's talk about this weekend's action. The Sun conjunct Uranus in Taurus, which will be the last conjunction in the sign of Taurus for 84 years. That is how long it takes Uranus to go around the 12 zodiac signs around the entire birth chart, is 84 years. Next year, actually this summer, July 7th, Uranus moves into Gemini. So next year, there will be 7 years, starting next year, 7 Sun-Uranus conjunctions in Gemini. But again, my Taurus placements, y'all are not going to have to worry about Uranus anymore. Though, honestly, I'm not as worried about Uranus, though things do come out of nowhere with Uranus, as Saturn and Mars. To be honest with you, a lot of my Uranus transits, there has over the 7 years I've been thinking about how it played out in my house of Taurus, there definitely has been some surprising twists of fate. But looking back, I'm happy the way that those played out. And they weren't all as scary as, per se, Saturn. Because I know I just told my mutable energy, Saturn's moving out. And now we're all going to be affected with Uranus for the next 7 years. But I don't think, personally, it's as scary as Saturn is. But remember, both things bring good energy as well. So like I said, on July 7th, it will enter Gemini, Uranus, where it will be for 7 years. So this last conjunction, the conjunction is happening at 27 degrees, happily not the 29th degree. For those of you who do not know, there are 1 to 30 degrees per every sign in every zodiac. There are potent degrees, according to ancient and modern astrologers, the 1st degree, the 15th degree, and the 29th degree. The 29th degree at the very end is often said to be a very hard degree. When something happens, it's very hard. So the fact is, I looked when I was what degree is this happening? And I know Uranus is at the very end. And I was okay, 27 degrees. I'm really liking that. I'm very liking that. Again, I'm happy it's not at that 29th, the 30th at the very end. So I think that this conjunction, the last conjunction of the 7 years that it's been happening in Taurus, is going to be a much softer conjunction. I think it's a conjunction that is going to bring a more positive sudden shift than the usual chaos that Uranus normally provides. So just to go over Uranus a little bit, Uranus is said to be naturally more of a malefic planet, bringing harder energy. That's what malefic says, is its first nature is to not bring the easiest energy. So with Uranus, and I pronounce it Uranus because I'm like a little boy when I say Uranus, so, and everyone kind of just naturally laughs. So a lot of astrologers say Uranus or Uranus. I like Uranus. I feel like it runs off the tongue a little bit better. But so Uranus is said to be a malefic planet. This is the harder energy that Uranus brings and can represent. Sudden chaos, fast electric energy, sudden disruptions, shifts in fate that come on strong and sudden, and breakthroughs. So again, that is some of the harder energy, but throughout all of that is also amazing energy as well, amazing things as well. What's interesting is some of the ancient astrologers or various astrologers that I read their books. I'm reading this one about the nodes, and I think I talked about it on when the nodes shifted into Pisces and Virgo. Is this, why am I forgetting the author's name at the moment? But he says that when Uranus is conjunct the South Node, or even sometimes the Sun, you have to actually worry about being electrocuted. And he has examples. He's been, an astrologer for a million years. He has examples of charts that he's worked on or has known where electric issues have showed up with someone being electrocuted. I don't want to scare you guys and those things, but how that has shown up. So that's where I say the fast electric energy, but it also doesn't mean that you're going to be electrocuted. It's just very fast current, just that very electric magnetic energy. The breakthroughs, though, really, you're going to find a lot of life path breakthroughs happening with Uranus transits, whether that's a conjunction or an opposition. The key word, though, with Uranus is sudden. sudden, all of a sudden, happens out of nowhere. Since this is the last conjunction, though, in Taurus, I feel way more positive about this transit. So first, whatever issue got brought up in your Taurus house, in your birth chart since 2017, when Uranus first entered Taurus, this will bring the final closure to that chapter. The people with Taurus placements, rising, moon, sun, you guys would have felt this the most on your life path. Some of you, might not even have an idea about how things played out for you, and that's okay, especially if you're new to astrology. You might realize it later. This is a good time. Look it up online. Maybe if you are Taurus or have Taurus placements, say, okay, let me look back at 2017. What happened during pretty much any of the fixed seasons throughout the year? What happened during Taurus season? What happened during Aquarius season? What happened during Leo season? What happened during Scorpio season? Look to that, and you're going to get a better idea about how this Uranus played out for you in the sign of Taurus. Or if you don't have any Taurus placements, look to where the Taurus is in your birth chart to see how this played out. And my fixed placements, this energy, this conjunction, I just named you guys, Scorpio, Aquarius, Taurus, and Leo. You guys are going to be feeling this energy the most. The transit is going to bring a positive twist of faith, okay? Positive twist of fate. I did say faith, but I actually think faith could actually come into play here, but I meant to say fate. Sudden plans that lead to a lot of fun. Big soul breakthroughs or life breakthroughs, like that final breakthrough that you needed or something in your life path needed. Sudden, passionate connection. Again, sudden, that's the word you always need to associate Uranus with. Allowing yourself to express yourself freely, breaking through a physical issue or physical barrier, deep physical understandings, shift in stubborn energy, freeing yourself of a life path or identity. Someone says something that allows you to finally see or feel or hear the truth and get to the other side of a stubborn energy. We say stubborn because we're in the fixed signs, right? So that when I say that, there's just this energy that you can't get past or someone else can't get past, a barrier there. This is allowing you to free yourself. And it could be, like I said, a barrier of how you identify or what you identify with within your life. You are breaking through. Like, I'm not saying me, but I no longer want to identify like this. I don't want people to think of me like this anymore or this way. Those kind of breakthroughs. So again, I'm really feeling good about this particular transit. All the other previous years, it's kind of like, but because this is happening at the end of the cycle, it's happening at that 27th degree. I think this is going to be a really nice closure and a closure with those positive breakthroughs that you really need. However, the next day, the energies cross over into one another. Mercury and Taurus will square Mars and Leo. So right away, what comes to me is a breakthrough with stubborn communication. So kind of tied into the night before. Remember, these energies we're going to be feeling for a few days, where it's just not going to be one day, Saturday. And in fact, it's a later in the day that this is happening. So the strongest of the Uranus Sun conjunction is really going to be Saturday, Sunday, Monday. So this also is in the crosshairs of Mercury and Taurus, where we're having also the conjunction and square to Mars and Leo. So again, breakthrough with stubborn communication, breakthrough with stubborn thinking, breakthrough with stubborn life path stalls. So what you mean, say what you mean energy, okay? And I will say, and I'm going to say what I mean. It may come off harsh, but often we need that truth or reality to break through something. So if there's an argument, trust that it's needed. And what you say will push the boundaries of comfort. And this is going to lead to breakthroughs, though. These are the breakthroughs we needed in 2025 that we didn't know we needed. Stubborn energy is going to move. It's going to shift. And again, whatever stubbornness you're feeling in you or around you is going to shift. This is an important time to allow yourself to have those conversations. I'm actually having a really important conversation with someone on Friday. It's very uncomfortable for me and it pushes me out of my comfort zone because it will help me release this lifelong struggle with guilt that often keeps me in my comfort zone or in situations long past their due date. I'm serious. I'm not going to get into my family history to tell you yet why I have such issues with guilt, but I've come a long way. But I would be paralyzed, whether it was with a boss, whether it was something, especially if I liked the person, but I just said, okay, it's time for me to change my life path, or I have to do something different. It's not you, it's me. I would feel such guilt that it would be crippling. And sometimes, believe it or not, because I'm someone who does what I want. But when it comes to someone I enjoy or like or grateful for, there often is times where I'm like, okay, this just isn't, it's time for me to change my life path. And I hate those conversations, but I've gotten comfortable with them and forced myself to do them over the years. So I have one this weekend, and I thought to myself, again, I had chosen this date a few weeks ago to have this conversation with this person. And I was like, shit. Why did I choose this weekend? That's what I first said when I was like a couple weeks ago. I'm like, oh my God, why would I have chosen that Friday to have this conversation with a person with this conjunction and the square? But then I thought again, this is a good thing. I gotta move past this stuck energy. So get comfortable with being uncomfortable is the big theme of the weekend. During Taurus season, we squared Pluto the whole time, and it squared Mars and Leo. So there was a lot of power dynamics at play. And I talked about it on last week's episode, actually, so go back and listen to it. And probably I feel like a lot of episodes really this whole year was a lot of self-awareness around yourself and power dynamics, others in power dynamics, how your power shows up, what weakens your power. I feel like all of 2025 has been an insight to that. And this is really, and especially Taurus season, really brought up that squared friction energy. So use that self-awareness, use that, gain and understand that self-awareness, because once we move into Gemini season, which I cannot wait, all the planets move into Gemini will trine Pluto. So there's going to be a really great energy when it comes to all the power play bullshit that played out over Taurus season, played out over the last year. Finally, it's trining Pluto, now nice and comfortable in Aquarius. I'm loving that. I'm excited for that. And it's going to bring a nice, light, airy feel to the power dynamics that have been showing up in your life. Gemini season, like I said, in general, though, is going to bring a nice, airy energy. This is going to be the first real light feeling of 2025, honestly. Like, up until next week, the energy was not light and airy. So, like we know, we started out all the heavy water for the first couple months with all the retrogrades in water signs and all the stuck energy in water signs. And then we jumped right into fire, which I spoke about, I think, on last week's episode the week before. There's a lot of harder elements to, yes, energy started getting moving, but there was still this confrontation around us, within us, that often gets brought up during fire season. So next week, I'm really excited for Gemini season to begin. I always am excited for Gemini season to begin since I'm a Gemini Sun, Gemini Mercury, but I'm really ready for it now. And on my birthday this year, the 24th of May, Saturn ingresses into Aries, and there's going to be a lot of intense energy on that day. And I'm going to talk about it on next week's episode. But, at the beginning of the year, when I was looking at my birthday, I was like, oh shit. This is intense. I've had the last couple of years with Saturn, being in there has been intense, but I'm like, wow, that's interesting. It's happening on my birthday. And one thing I'll say for my mutable signs, especially Geminis, in March of 2023 was Saturn moving into Pisces, which automatically squared a Gemini season, all of the Geminis in the very beginning of Gemini season, like the first 3 weeks, pretty much all of Gemini season. And not just myself. Some of you might remember how sick I got the day of my, right leading up to my birthday. I know literally 5 Geminis I know a lot of Geminis that same week or 2 weeks 4 of them got sick as well. And 2 of them had life path issues that just stopped, installed, and it was just total insanity. So one thing I am very, very happy about, and again, my mutable energies are happy about, is that we're really not going to be dealing with this too much longer. Thank you, Lord. Thank you. So, I'm sorry, Aries, it's your turn now. So for the weekend, this weekend, if you see a random opportunity presents to you, because the energy will be out there to fight or argue, run away. And I'm talking random. So when I say random, I mean road rage or, saying something to someone who pissed you off in Wawa. Avoid it, because people are going to be hot, fiery, and steamy this weekend. The energy will be there. So if the universe presents crazy random energy, avoid it. However, if it is a conversation that needs to happen with somebody that you know, and maybe it starts out as some confrontation or some things that aren't said, or maybe it feels like an argument, don't avoid that. This is coming up to solve unsolved energy, unsolved issues. Let the fight happen. Let the conversation happen. Again, this energy is on your side to get past a stuck disagreement. So say what you need to say, okay? I promise you it actually will work out in your favor if it's someone currently in your life in some way or form and there has been some issues, have the conversation. But again, you walk into Wawa and someone jumps in line in front of you, don't be like, hey, asshole, go fuck yourself. Don't do that because the energy is going to be like, what'd you say to me? I'm going to wait for you out by my car. That's fight. But if it's someone you know and, you run into them, it's be like, hey, I need to talk to you about this because it's really bothering me because the energy is on the side to push through and break through. And how often, I know it happens a lot when you finally, right, like you have what's the word? Like a confrontational energy between someone, that weird stuck energy where like two people are resentful, but nobody is saying anything about it. And that resentment's builds, right? Because when we're resentful, it builds until it's too big and it's much bigger than it ever even was. And then you have the fight, you have the conversation with someone. And then all of a sudden, it's like, it's not even there anymore, that energy. And you're like, wait, why didn't I have this conversation before? I wouldn't have felt all this resentment leading up to it. So that is why we do this. That is why we let go of resentment. And if we can't let it go, we talk it through and we fight it through. I think I said it on last week's episode. Sometimes you gotta fight. Sometimes you I think it's strange when people don't fight. I don't think it's good. Theirs is peaceful. I also don't think it's good when you're arguing 24/7. But often those conversations, those fights really push through. And maybe you don't have to fight if you're totally 100% communicative and communicate every single thing you feel. But often, like I said, a lot of people, except for a lot of Geminis, hold on to it. And then it is much bigger than it ever needed to be or that it really even is. So remember that. Wawa, avoid the fights. Someone in your life, have the fight. Okay? That's my advice. I love you all. Next week is Gemini season. I promise you we're getting to much better energy personally. I can't speak on the collective because, there's a lot happening. But personally, it is getting better. I love you all. Have a beautiful day and I'll be back next week. Goodbye.